You ready, Coach?
I'm ready. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great, doing great. So, I mean, it's 2020, so COVID's in the news every day. Nick Saban tested positive yesterday. Florida LSU is postponed. In that case, Florida, they think they had a few players prior to their road trip. They had cold symptoms. They didn't think it was a big deal. They didn't think it was COVID related, so they didn't report them. Is it just constantly, teaching moments every week on trying to tell your guys on how to stay safe? Is this something like maybe you look at that example and repeat it to your guys before you guys are going on a road trip yourself?
Yeah, we talk about it with our players all the time. Because of symptoms like that during the course of the week, you're going to have a good group of guys that end up missing a day here and there. Our guys have been great about talking about symptoms and sharing that with the medical staff, having telehealth appointments, and trying to keep everybody safe. It's personal accountability and how you interact with people in the building, but outside of it as well. And then if you're showing symptoms, at the end of the day, in the world that we're living in, and it's contradictory to what sports is, typically all about, as far as pushing through, competing, and making sure that you're there for your teammates every day. You got to be open and honest and transparent about what's going on, how you feel, and have the conversation with our medical staff.
Coach, do you have an update on Marlon Williams, who was shaken up at the end of the Tulsa game, and will he play this weekend at Memphis?
I think everybody kind of was nicked up through the course of play there against Tulsa will be able to be available here on Saturday.
Josh, you look at this Memphis rivalry you guys kind of have with them. What stands out to you about it, and what does it mean when you playing a team that their program has had 13 straight wins against? What is it you're looking forward to kind of avoiding?
Yeah, previous week has nothing to do with this week. The previous game against this opponent has nothing to do with it. I think the thing that is a takeaway is that you got to be a fierce competitor. You got to be willing to lay it on the line for 60 minutes. You got to prepare with great urgency to put yourself in a position for the one play that makes the difference in the ball game. Might be the first play of the game, might be the last play of the game. I think you got to prepare and be ready to go compete for 60 minutes. There's been a lot of great games. There's been ups and downs in the course of all of those games. You look at it, we've been down, 3 possessions at halftime in this ball game, and our guys have been willing to go out and continue to compete. And so played at 0-0 for 60 minutes and go lay it on the line.
Josh, do you have any updates on Treyixon and his progression maybe this week?
We'll have another conversation here before we jump on the plane and make a final determination.
Coach, we've kind of seen some hints here and there regarding McKenzie Milton on social media. I know they were saying UCF tweeted a couple weeks ago he went into pads. Where is he? Is he running the scout team? It looks like he's been cleared for maybe another level of stuff out there.
Continuing to progress on the field. You just look at his progress and what he's done, ever since the injury. It's really remarkable. I think it's something that everybody inside of our program takes great notice of. Great to see him with great energy as he continues to climb that mountain and get to where he wants to get, and doing a lot of things on the football field for us right now, and just continuing to push and try to get himself to 100%.
Hello, Coach. Memphis, they lost one of their best players for this season he opted out due to COVID. How do you think, what's going to be the approach, the UCF approach for that, since they lost one of the best players? And how do you think they're going to come to the game?
Memphis is a great football team. You look at the way they play the game in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special team. They have experience in all of those areas. You look at how they've played early, lost a tough one a week ago, but did a lot of great things in all 3 sides of the football, and I expect them to come out and play with great passion and energy, and it's a big home game for them. There's gonna be more people in the stands than there was in week 1 for them. I think it's gonna be a great competitive environment for their team and for our football team.
Josh, we saw, it was mentioned earlier, we saw Nick Saban test positive for COVID. We've seen a lot of other coaches test positive. Has that thought ever crossed your mind? And what, if it does, what do you think about it? And as a program, are you prepared in case something were to happen like that?
We will be prepared, but you try to do everything that you possibly can to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and you know, it's for every member on our staff, right? In every interaction, you're extremely careful in what you do.
Coach, regarding the offensive line, and the penalties have been an issue, but you know, how would you assess how those guys have played through the first three, and what do you want to see specifically from the line on Saturday against Memphis?
Penalties have been an issue. It's not just them. It's the quarterback. It's the skill players at times. We have not functioned the way that we're capable of. You know, a little bit of a snowball that continued to pick up steam and size last week. Didn't handle it very well in the second half. You know, we've worked on that here over the last couple of weeks. I think they've done a lot of really good things throughout the course of play here in the first three ball games. We got to be our best on Saturday in a big road contest, and we got to be penalty free, and believe we've done some things that will help us put us in a good situation to alleviate most of those things.
And Coach, more about the offensive line with specifically Matt Lee. What have you seen from him during the bye? What continues to be your comfort level with him as your center?
Matt's going to be not just a good player, but a great football player. He cares about wearing the black and gold as much as anybody we have inside of our program. You know, lived a couple miles from the stadium, grew up being a fan, being at games. You know, some things didn't go right here the first couple of weeks. He's done a lot of really great things as well, and expect him, as he has the last couple of weeks, to push forward, keep getting better, and we have great confidence in Matt as our center.
Josh, you mentioned a little bit about McKenzie. How much of his coming back do you have to kind of maybe pull him back a little bit? I mean, I'm sure he wants to get back out there as soon as he possibly can, but is there been any talk about maybe tempering a little bit of that enthusiasm a little bit, making sure that he's ready to go when he is?
I think anybody that comes back from a major injury, great players, great competitors, they do push the envelope of what their rehab protocol is. And when I say that, it means that they don't step out of bounds, but they are constantly pushing themselves to get better. And that's the only way McKenzie's gotten to this point, and will continue to get back to being 100%. He's smart in what they do, got great trust in our staff, our strength and conditioning staff that does some of the rehab, along with the medical staff. You know, they've done a tremendous job, and McKenzie's going to continue to push.
Yeah, Coach, just on McKenzie Milton again. I don't know exactly what day he maybe went on to the full pads. I know UCF tweeted something a couple weeks ago, but do you kind of remember that first day? I mean, I know he's always at practice anyway, but do you kind of remember the first day he kind of did a little bit more and put on the pads, and what that reaction was like? You know, how the coaches responded, how the other players responded. Do you kind of remember that moment?
I mean, you remember certainly those high points in his rehab for sure. First day he's back in pads, throwing routes on air, and starting to get back to doing things in a typical normal fashion, where he's just part of a team instead of just being a guy that's coming back from rehab protocol. And you remember that about McKenzie. You remember that about all the guys that have been out, you know, that have been injured.
And Coach, if you'll oblige me, one more injury update if possible. Parker Boudreaux has yet to play this season due to his concussion issues. Do you think he would be available against Memphis?
Not sure yet on Parker.
Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody. Let me unmute everybody. Thanks, Coach. And we'll see some of you after the game on Saturday.
Anybody got
Thank
any
you,
more
Coach.
injury update questions? Anybody?